Hello everyone, it's Karen Burniston here with our class day video for our March 2022 Spotlight Workshop through Stamp and Scrapbook Expo. The first card we'll be making is a St. Patrick's Day card featuring our fancy label accordion die set and our good luck charms. Okay, that's going to fold up into a 4 3/4 inch square, so you'll be able to mail that in an A7 envelope. Then our second card is going to be a top fold A2 size in an Easter theme. We're going to use the mechanism from our heart collage pop-up, but then we're going to decorate it with our Easter charms. Now you may have just stumbled across this video today, this class day video, and you're wondering, well, how do I purchase a kit for these cards? So you've got choices. We sell them on our website, karenburniston.com. I have absolutely no idea if we have any left. At this point when I'm filming this video, I don't know what the status is of inventory. We make a limited supply of kits and they're available on our website, karenburniston.com. However, we also give all of the kitting instructions to our retailers and they may elect to sell the Spotlight kits as well. So if you have a local store that carries our brand, this is the logo, Karen Burniston in cahoots with Riley and Company. Okay, you may call them first and find out whether they have any kits left for the March Spotlight event. And what does a kit look like? Okay, it looks a little different than what you're used to seeing because for Spotlight events, you are going to do a lot of the prep work yourself. So you're actually purchasing a big bulky thing of materials, raw materials in the colors that I have designed these cards. And then there is a die requirement. So for this March Spotlight class, you have to have these 3 dies because the pieces that we need to make those cards from those 3 dies are not pre-cut for you. However, if we incorporate a couple other dies from our collection that are not part of the required sets, then we will pre-cut just those pieces for you. So for this month, we wanted to incorporate the Happy St. Patrick's Day. So there's 4 pieces in that set, and those have been pre-cut for you in the kits. Here, you can see them in there. Okay, I wanted to use the mechanism from our heart collage pop-up. And so that is not a required die, but the mechanism was needed. So that has been pre-cut for you by either us or the store, wherever you got your Spotlight kit. And that's in your baggie of pre-cuts, okay? Everything else for these cards comes from these 3 die sets, your paper trimmer and your scoring board. So that's what you use to prep your kit. And then you get from these raw materials down to your 2 ready to go for class day assembly kits. Okay, so how do you get from this to this? Okay. We give you, when you buy a Spotlight kit, either from us or from the store, you will have a very detailed set of instructions that tell you all of the paper pre-cutting, all of the die cutting, and your class day instructions, okay? This is usually going to come to you by email, okay? It's not going to necessarily come printed in your kits, but you'll get it from an email from the store or from us. And then on that handout, when you get it emailed to you, there will be a link to the YouTube prep video. So in addition to these very detailed instructions, I also prep my kit and film myself doing it. So there is a video that shows me taking my raw materials and getting to this point. And those prep work videos are really actually very educational because now you're learning, how do I use the dies? You know, if you've ever gone to a die cut class where everything's pre-cut, you know, you're going to assemble and make a beautiful card, but did you really learn anything about how the dies work in that process? Not so much. So with this process, when you do your prep work, you just have to have that done before class day. But what's even better about the Spotlight events is that this isn't really technically a live class. This is pre-recorded, which means you're in control. You don't have to watch this video on the day that it goes up. You can watch it anytime in the future. So you can catch up, what I'm saying. If you're here, you've stumbled across, if it happens to be March 9th, 2022, when you're watching this, when it first debuted, then you can check this chat box below in the YouTube comments or on Facebook, wherever you're watching this, and I will be there. My business partner, Tanya, will be there and we'll be answering any questions. So maybe you don't have a kit or you haven't had a chance to prep yours today. Maybe hang out and watch the video anyway. You can ask some questions and then you can always go back and watch it later. Okay, so that's how this is going to go. So before you get to this video, if you really want to make these cards, you need to go purchase a kit from our website or from a participating store, and then, you know, come back here after you've got your class kits put together, and then you can do the class assembly. The first card we're going to work on is going to be our St. Patrick's Day Fancy Label Accordion. Let's talk about the tools and supplies that you're going to need to get through this card. In addition to your prepped class kit with all of your pre-cut materials, you're going to need scissors. You're going to need a glue that can dry clear and go into a fine line. So my favorite is, of course, our fine tip bottles, and then my favorite adhesive to go in it is Lineco Neutral pH adhesive. And then what I do is take a wee yogurt jar. So you go to the grocery store and you get some yogurt, which is delicious, buy your favorite. Every once in a while they offer fancy jars, but most of the time they're just plain. And then after you've eaten the yogurt and cleared out your jar, then put a paper towel in the bottom and just squirt it with some water so that it stays damp, okay? So just regular old water, squirt it. Not so it's sopping, but just so it's damp. And then as you're working, you can keep the needle tip of your glue in that damp paper towel, and it's going to keep your glue flowing all the time while you're crafting, and you don't have to spend any time clearing it out. And then for our St. Patrick's Day, I mostly didn't use any ink. I mostly kept it pretty clean, except for these frames here. I did highlight them with some green ink. So any green ink and some way to blend it. So I like to use my Distress inks with those blending tools. Some people prefer like a blending brush. Anything like that would work. And then pop dots. If you want it to look like mine, you're going to want to elevate your frames here on some pop dots or dimensional foam tape. You can see it underneath there. Okay. And then scissors. Did I say scissors? Oops, I flipped my thing around there. Hang on. Okay. All right, so I have this cool little tray that a friend of mine bought me for my classes, and I love it because I can dump my stuff into a tray and try not to lose pieces. Okay, so what we're making is a fancy label accordion. So what's cool about this die set is that you are in charge of how many pages you put together, okay? So it has a tab that's attached to the accordion page right here, and then you just string together as many of them as you would like. I have seen people do like the 12 Days of Christmas, and they've made a 12-page accordion and put it on the mantle. Some people like to do them and put pictures of their grandkids, or maybe for graduation you could do the years, you know, through school. So start with kindergarten, end at senior year. That would be a fun personalized gift. So this die set comes with 6 pieces. It has the big piece that does the accordion, and then it has these nested labels, large, medium, small, and then a little square and a flower. So those pieces are real nice generic pieces. You'll find that we're using those pieces not on the, you know, on the next card too, because those are just great labels to use, you know, for your greeting blocks and things, and the little flower that comes out of it. We're going to use that on the second card. We're even going to use the square out of the fancy label accordion on our second card. So always look with our pop-up dies to how you can use the decorator pieces for other projects, maybe your scrapbook layouts and things. You don't have to feel limited to only using the pieces in the die set with, you know, in the manner that was intended. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is string together our big pages for our accordion. And we've got 2 greens. We've got the light green and the dark green. Those are those nice 100-pound cardstock from the Paper Cut smooth cardstock. Love this stuff for the pop-ups. It's real nice and sturdy. We're going to do tabs to the right. All tabs are going to be going to the right, and we're going to go light green, dark green, light green, dark green. Okay, so all of my tabs are going to the right. And the way that we're going to connect these together is that we're going to use that long tapered tab that's out on the end of the page. So here for my light green one, I'm going to fold that tab in. Completely up to you if you want to use a bone folder to really get a crisp fold. You can do that. Okay. So we're going to do that for all of these pages. We're going to work that long fold on all of the pages. Okay. I always find it's easier to fold towards myself with a die that has been scored, you know, a piece that's been scored by a die, because that's where the die has pressed into the paper. And so I usually just put my thumbnails kind of in that fold line and then bring it towards myself, even if ultimately it's going to be a reversed fold, a mountain fold. I always fold them towards myself first to find the folds. And then it's easy enough to reverse it if it needs to be reversed, you know, but then it's just easier to train them that way. Okay, so we now have are 4 pages with long tabs to the right, and all of those tabs have been worked. You know, you can work them in both directions if you want to. And then just bring them back to flat again. Okay, if you are watching this on debut day, you may be trying to do this with me, and that is totally fine. If you find yourself frustrated because you fall a little bit behind or whatever, just stop. And then you can just watch the rest of the video, and you can ask me questions in the comment section, or Tanya if you're on YouTube. And then it's going to be up again, you know, on the Stamp and Scrapbook Expo website. It's going to be up our YouTube, and it'll be up on our YouTube as well. And then you can refer to it at a time where you're in control, you know, where you can pause me, where you can rewind me, where you can just take it at your own pace. So don't let this frustrate you. That's the beauty of it being on YouTube, is the speedy folks, you know, they can kind of just grab that instruction and just go with it. They can do it with me. If you find that I'm too fast for you, that's fine. Just watch it this time, you know, gather your questions, you know, maybe in the chat. Give me your questions, and then do it at your own pace in a future viewing. Okay. Now, that pep talk over, if you are crafting with me, let's go ahead and put these 4 pages together. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the next page to the right and overlap that tab so that it comes up to the fold line but not crossing it, okay? Because we do want to be able to fold these in between the pages, as you see right here. All right, so how can you do that? I'm going to give you 2 choices. You can put your glue all over this tab and line it up in the flat position like this, okay? But then you are in control of keeping this straight along the bottom. A lot of people prefer this method, which is they fold this one like a book, over like this. Then they can line up the upper and the bottom, you know, so it's nice and straight. Then they got to hold it so it doesn't move, okay? Then I can put my adhesive all over that tab. And I'm using glue. You could use a strong tape, but it sort of depends on your climate. I live in Texas, South Texas, and let me tell you, there is not a tape that is ultimately strong enough for Texas humidity, but glue is. So glue is so permanent, and it's really great for the pop-ups because these are the kind of cards where people open and close and open and close, and so you really want a strong adhesive. Okay, so now I've connected page 1 to page 2, and notice I didn't glue a tab to a tab. We never do tab to tab. We do page to tab, so that we always have a tab going out in the direction that we're extending our accordion. Okay, so light green tab has been glued to dark green page. All right, let's do the next one. Same thing. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to turn it like a book. I'm going to lay it over the top of this dark green one, lining it up at the bottom and the top, and with this fold line. Then I add my adhesive all over this tapered tab. Fold it over and onto the back of that page. Okay. And let me get the last one on there. I'll tell you something about that handout. Okay, so I'm going to slide over and do the last one. So I'm going to turn it like a page, or like a book. Line it up top and bottom. Okay, so that it's next to that fold. And then add my adhesive to that tab, fold it over and onto the back of the page. Okay, so now we've got a 4-page accordion started. Now we don't have a page 5, so we don't need this last tab. So you can, I mean, I cut it off on mine. Some people get kind of fancy and they glue it to the back so they have that kind of fold edge on this side. To me, what's the point? You don't have it over here, you know? So anyway, I'm going to cut it off. You can cut it off with scissors or you can cut it off with your trimmer. It just depends whether you're good at cutting straight or you prefer your trimmer. I'm just going to live on the wild side and use my scissors on this. Okay. All right, and we will not need that little scrap, so you can throw that away. All right, there we go. We are ready to go for decorating. What's nice about the fancy label accordion is that you decorate it before you attach the inner tabs that create everything popping up, so it just makes it really easy because we decorate in that flat position. But we're also doing something a little different because our page 4 is not going to be, we're not going to use the little label in it. We're actually going to cover it with paper front and back so that we can have a nice big section for our greeting and for a place to sign the card. So it's kind of a little hybrid, you know, card that way. And then when it folds up, rather than you being able to see all the way through the card like you normally would, because you've got that solid page on the back, all you see in there is just kind of hints of what's on that final page. All right. Okay, so let's dive into some decorating. And I'm going to start over here with this page. We're going to get this one done first. So before we get into all those little, oh, what am I trying to say? The other things. Okay, so what do we have here? So you've got 2 trimmer cuts that you made. So these weren't made with the die, these were just made with your trimmer. And one of them is the green paper that has the diamonds on it. These are Cardabella and Echo Park paper. And I chose them, they're in different collections because I actually was always choosing them for the green side. So like this one came from a baby collection. See the pennants on the back? This one came from a floral collection, and this one came from a floral collection as well, but different collections, because all I wanted was some really cool greens for the St. Patrick's Day theme. So we're going to glue this one to the front here, and then we're going to glue this one to the back. Okay, and maybe it's going to be easier actually to do the one on the back first, so that then when we go to glue the one on the front, we can put glue even in these areas. It won't matter if it falls through there. Okay, so let's do that. So on the back of the final page, so folding it over, we're on the back now. See, it's going to cover this little tab as well. We're going to put that green, the larger pattern paper square that we cut with the trimmer. And since we do have holes in this page, my suggestion is to put your adhesive on this page instead of the back of that paper. It goes pretty close to the edges, but it does leave a little bit. So I'm going to stay away from the edges, and I can do all of this. As we're not making this a pop-up, we're just shellacking, covering it. So, okay. Then I'm going to center that paper, put it on here. So I'm on the back. Let me show you where we're at. Don't get confused by this. That's a different frame. We're on the back right here. We're doing this. Okay, now let's open it to the front, and you can see those little pretty flowers through there, but we're going to cover them up. They don't match our theme, so we're going to cover them up. All right, now we're going to do the smaller square. It's going to get centered and put here on the front. Okay, so for this one, since we've already covered the holes, we can put the adhesive all over the back of that paper. Okay, and I don't think there's an up or down to that. I mean, there would be if you were on the floral side, but I think on the green side it doesn't really matter. So, okay. During the prep work video, you cut 7 pattern paper pages. And on those pages, I actually had you nest a couple dies in the middle and cut some decorator pieces at the same time. Because for these big pages that are cut out of pattern paper, and there are 7 of them, we are only using them to do our pattern paper little frames. And you know what? You are going to need your trimmer. Sorry, I hope you have access to your trimmer, those of you doing it with me. If not, pause me. Go grab your trimmer if you're watching this later. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to get all 7 of these down to where they're ready to just be a decorative frame. So feel free to set your project aside to do that. I'm going to set this aside as well. Okay, what do we have to do to make these into frames? Okay, here's the first easy part is just cut out the middle label part right where it connects, top and bottom. So here and here, we do not need this. That is trash, unless you have something you want to use it for. These also have the fold, the tab, because of course the die doesn't know you're trying to make a decorator piece. It just thinks you're trying to make a page. So we are going to have to find that fold so that we know where that page is supposed to end. Right now, if we cut off that tab and then glued it on our project, it would perfectly cover each page, okay? I thought it would be nice to have a little bit of the original page color showing around the perimeter. So that's what we need our trimmer for. Because for each one of these 7 pages, we're going to put it in the trimmer and take off a smidge, okay? That's a technical measurement, a smidge. What is it? Probably not even an 1/8. You could take an 1/8 if that's easier, maybe a little bit less than an 1/8. On my trimmer, I have this little before the gray starts, it's just kind of, and that seems to be a little bit less than 1/8. And basically, as long as I'm just consistent, if I take that smidge off this side, then turn it, take that smidge off this side, okay, turn it, take that smidge off this side. And then for the one that has the tab, where we're measuring from is the fold line. So if you wanted to fold it under, then you could put your fold line on your smidge mark, whatever your smidge mark is. Okay, and then it'll cut like that, but then the tab will be gone. And what you'll have is a frame that would fit on your page perfectly on the inside, but on the outside it'll leave a little shadow. Okay, so we're going to do that 6 more times until we get 7 of them. Now, could you stack these up in your trimmer and do them 2 at once? Probably. I would be a little worried with smidges that it would, you know, the bottom one would slide a little bit, and because, you know, there's not a, you're cutting off so little that it's going to be a little sensitive to even the slightest movement. So I would probably do them 1 at a time. I am going to do them 1 at a time. I say probably, but I'm doing it. So smidge, 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 and then fold this under and put my fold on my smidge mark. Okay, I'm creating quite a bit of trash here. So we're going to do these spotlights 4 times this year. So we're going to do them in March, and we're going to do them in June, in September, and then probably late November, early December. We haven't totally decided on that last one yet. And it's going to be just like this one. It's going to have a required die element to it, probably 3 to 4 dies, depending. And then anything else that I use from other die sets will be pre-cut. We're going to give those kitting instructions to our retailers in case they want to sell kits as well. If you have fallen in love with these projects and you go to our website and we're sold out, and I don't know that that's true because I'm filming this a few weeks before the class, but if our kits are sold out, you know, you could always check with your store because they might still have some. So, and you can go on the Where to Find Us page on our website and find the stores that are participating in the Spotlight program. That doesn't necessarily mean they're doing it every time. You know, just, there's no, oh, you know what, let me take these out first. So all I'm doing is going around and taking a smidge off of the sides of all 7 of my pattern paper pages from our fancy label accordion die set. Okay, fold this to the back, put my fold line on the smidge. So while I'm doing this, let me tell you a little bit about me in case some of you are new to our brand. So I'm Karen Burniston, and I've been designing dies for, I've sort of lost track of how I would have to do some math. So I was a licensed designer at Sizzix for 5 years, and then when that contract ended, I went to Elizabeth Craft Designs for 3 years, and I was licensed artist. So what licensed artist means is that I do the designs, but then, you know, basically the company that I'm working with, they manufacture them and put them out, and then I get a royalty based on sales. So then after that contract I did with Elizabeth Craft Designs, then I kind of felt like I was ready to you know, stop licensing and go into business for myself, but I was a little intimidated about all the business parts of it, because when you're a licensed artist, you don't have to do all that business stuff, you know, all the fulfillment and taxes and accounting and all that stuff. But I lucked out because I have a really good friend, Tanya Kostanek, who owns Riley & Company, which is a stamp company with a really cute moose and some funny bones stamp phrases. You should check out Riley & Company online to see her other company, which is great. But anyway, she was looking for another opportunity, and so it just kind of aligned that we decided to start our own business, and we would be doing my dies. I would continue to live in Texas and work out of Texas, but Tanya lives in Kansas, and that's where the business is. And she takes care of all that stuff I don't know how to do, that businessy stuff. And we have a small staff. We're a small company. We have Sue, who is our warehouse manager, and she does an amazing job. I mean, we always get compliments on Sue getting things out so quickly. And then we have a customer service and social media manager named Karina. A lot of you have probably spoken to Karina on the phone. She is just lovely and such a big help. And then we have some people that help us with like kitting and things like that. So, but we're a pretty small company. And I'm basically the entire Texas division. Everybody else is in, well, is in other states. Not everybody's in Kansas. Okay. But our dies ship from Kansas. So if you ever buy from us, they ship from Kansas. I just happen to live in Texas. All right, I've created all this trash I'm going to throw away. Okay. Now let me get my project out and start putting those frames on. Okay, let's start with the inside of the accordion here. Okay. Now, since these are squares, it shouldn't really matter, you know, which way you go, but every once in a while, it just likes it better one way than the other, you know. So if you put a piece on there and you say, oh, that doesn't line up on the inside rounded corners exactly perfectly, just give it a quarter turn and see if it does a little better. Because that just could be, I mean, it could be just the teensy bit of variation in that could make that difference. So stress not. And then we're going to put one over here too, kind of a dummy frame on our big page. Okay, so I'm going to save these three for the back. So here's what we've got. We have the green with the diamonds on it. Then I did the gingham green. Then I did the lightest green that has those thingies on it. And then I did the gingham green again. Okay, I mean, there's nothing that would get ruined if you made a different choice on these. That absolutely does not matter. This is your project, not my project, so you can make creative choices on this. Okay, so we're just going to glue our paper frames to the pages, lining up those inside rounded corners, and then that should leave us a nice little border around the outside. Okay, there's not going to be a border on the inside. The inside is going to be right to the edge because we didn't, that would have been difficult to trim because you would have had to go around the bend like that. So I just do it with an outside border when I do it. Or if you're in a rush, you know, you're making a bunch of these or whatever, it's not like you couldn't just leave it full size and not do the smidge trim. So that's always a choice that you have. And you don't even have to cover these with pattern paper at all, or not all of them. You have other choices. We have some frame edges that fit these, or you can even take advantage of a stencil feature that the die has. Let me find that die and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me find that die. Where are you? Here you are. Okay, see how there's all these little stitch line holes in the outer frame? You can die cut it, take your gel pen, right, or any kind of pen really, through those holes and actually just stitch a decorative stitch line, draw a decorative stitch line all over your page to do the decoration of it. So you have lots of choices with how you decorate these. What I would not suggest is, unless you have a real heavy pattern paper, I wouldn't suggest making your pages themselves the structure of the accordion out of pattern paper, because I just don't think it'll be strong enough. I think your base accordion doesn't necessarily have to be 100-pound, especially if you're going to be adding layers. You could probably do an 80-pound cardstock for the pages, although 100 is my favorite because it is just sturdy. You just feel how sturdy it is. But, 100 would probably work. Even maybe 65 if you're putting paper on the front and the back. That would probably be fun. But I wouldn't suggest doing your structure of your accordion out of pattern paper, because I don't think it'll be strong enough. Because you want this to be able to stand up for display, which is how it's going to be displayed most likely. Open. Okay, and then this one we're just going to look to the outside edge, since I don't have inside edges to line up to, and get it so that it leaves a nice little border all the way around. Oh, see, I've already, you know what? If you want to tuck, we've got this white one, which I think is a little bit wider than that, so sorry about that. We should probably tuck that white in as we go. Okay, so that we don't have to trim it to fit. So figure out where you want that white to go. And know that in your pre-cut baggie, if you will grab your Happy St. Patrick's Day, if you want Happy St. Patrick's Day to be within the green, like mine is, see? Then that will kind of inform how far down you place that white strip so that it only maybe a little bit overlaps and you still have room to sign your card. So I think about there looks good for me. So it looks like I'm only leaving just a little bit of the inside pattern paper showing, maybe 1 diamond's worth or so. Okay. Straightness. All right, and then since I kind of tucked mine in, I'm just going to go under there and just put a little glue to keep it in there permanently. All righty, and I'm going to go ahead out of my pre-cut baggie and get my Happy St. Patrick's Day and my green twine out. Okay. All right, these are for the Easter card, so you don't need those until the next card. And depending on the store, I know some stores separate the little pre-cut pieces into card 1, card 2, so you may just have to look for the one that has Happy St. Patrick's Day. But the idea, the way this works is, of course, it's got the greeting, which is all in a single piece, and it doesn't have to be used with the shadow. So if you have a space issue, sometime you might just use just the greeting. But it does come with that kind of bubble shadow, and you can glue it on there and you'll get an even border all the way around. Now, if you'd like to highlight that a little bit with some green ink before you glue it on there, let me get my green ink out. Okay, here's what I like to do. It's just my preference, but you can do what you like. If you have some Post-it notes nearby, what I like to do is do the bottom half of each letter, or each word. So to protect the upper half of my St. Patrick's Day, and I'm going to put a shamrock over the top of that one so I don't have to worry about the shamrock so much. So I just slide my, and you can just use a piece of scratch paper if you don't have a Post-it note. Post-it notes are nice because they stick. And I'm going to take this little sticky bit of my Post-it note and actually move it so that it hits the apostrophe. Okay, so now I've isolated just the happy so that when I ink the bottom half of happy, it's not going to get anything onto St. Patrick's. Okay, then I'm going to take my blending tool and my green ink. And this is an intricate word, so go slowly. Don't get too wild with it or you might rip your word. Okay, and I'm just going to do kind of a swirling motion, hitting basically the bottom half of that word and the tail of the Y as well with some of that green ink. So it's going to be subtle. Little kind of two-tone word. Let's see if you can see here. See, you're probably going to notice it more when I take the Post-it note off. All right, so I take my Post-it note off, and now you can kind of see the put it on my shadow here. Hang on. See the variation now? Okay, then I do the same thing with my day. I'm trying to protect the D, okay, and then protect the rest. But again, the shamrock doesn't matter as much because we're going to cover it with those glitter shamrocks that have been pre-cut for you out of this set. And they completely cover the ones that are in the word, so you don't have to worry so much about, you're masking off your shamrocks. Okay, so Saint is going to be a little loosey-goosey, so kind of anchor it as you ink there. And then we're going to do the bottom half of Patrick's. Okay. Put my thing behind it. You don't have to do this, by the way. This is your card. This is your card, not my card. So if this is like, yeah, I'm going to skip that. That's okay. Doesn't hurt my feelings. Just giving you ideas. And then for day, I don't need to do any masking because it's the bottom word. So I'm just going to anchor my word and hit it with a little ink. And that's distress ink, so it's going to fade a little bit over time anyway. So it won't be quite as stark. Well, I guess I'm going to use that later. I'll just keep that attached. Okay, so now I'm going to glue my inked Happy St. Patrick's Day to my shadow die. And when we have pre-cut a die for you, it does still get listed in your handout so that you know what die we used, because if you wanted to make a bunch of these, you would need to purchase your Happy St. Patrick's Day, since that was a pre-cut and you only have one of them. You do have enough materials left over from all of your papers to do these cards at least one more time, but you have to either use your own greeting or get this die. And it does say on the handout the item number so that you can tell your store if you're buying from your store, or you can find it on our website. Okay. So my S is going a little wonky there, so I'm going to just start up here with the happy, getting it, looking out here to the S, looking down here to the D, and then I can kind of kick my saint into the right spot so that I get that nice shadow. Like this. All right, and then, like I said, there are 2 shamrocks that come included in the Happy St. Patrick's Day set, and they are sized to fit on the ones that are in the, I was looking for that die to show you while I was, okay, so see, it comes with the greeting that we did, the shadow, and then the 2 shamrocks that fit the 2 that are built into the greeting. So placement on those is very easy. They are a little bit different size. There's kind of one that's a little bit smaller than the other, so they fit. The smaller one fits the bottom right, and the larger one fits the upper left. And you just add your adhesive. And a great tool for picking things up is something like a quick stick. You can pick items up and then move them. Especially if you're putting things onto adhesive, you know, versus adhesive on the back of the item. You can just pick your item up and move it. And there we have our greeting for our card. Let me get this in camera where you can see it. All right, so let's put that in this open space here. And I did have a little bit of the day overlap the white. Just basically looking to keep it kind of in the darker green area. I mean, it would be fine. It's just your card. You want to do it like this? Cool, do it like that. Doesn't hurt my feelings any. That actually looks pretty cool. You might want to do it like that. Up to you. And if ever you're watching this video and you feel like you need just a little bit closer look or something, remember you have those instructions that came as a download, either emailed to you by us or by the store, and they have all the class day instructions. So everything that we've been doing so far, I don't know if it's in the same order, but you know, you've got all those instructions to teach you how to do this. Whew. Okay, let's find a couple more decorative pieces for this page. We're just going to stick with this page and then we'll just move on through the album. Okay. I say album because, you know, accordion album, but it's technically a card. We are going to make 2 rainbows, so let's just go ahead and make them both, and then we'll save the other one for our pot of gold when we get to that page. All right, so we're moving to the good luck charms now. So you pre-cut 2 rainbow charms out of white. So you want to find those 2 rainbow charms. Now, one thing that's nice about our charm sets is that the hole on the charm is strategically placed somewhere where it can be easily removed when you want to use these as standalone elements. So they're charms because sometimes you do want to hang them from some twine or a brad or a jump ring, you know, and use the fact that they're charms. And other times maybe you just want to use it as a standalone element. And we're going to be doing both for this card. So for both of our rainbows, though, we're not going to have holes at the top. We're just going to use them as standalones. So in both cases, for just our rainbow only, we can cut off the holes at the top and discard them. Okay. That's basically a way to get double duty. Now you probably have noticed already on yours that there's all these little score lines in the piece, and that's to help you place your stripes of your rainbow, because the rainbow stripes are in that set as individual dies so it's less paper waste, you know, that you can cut just the color you need for the stripe you need. It is a 6-color rainbow, not a 7. That was a creative license that I took because blue and indigo are kind of similar, and so I skipped indigo. So I did Roy G. Biv, right? Red, orange, yellow. I did Roy G. Biv. I didn't do indigo. Okay, Roy G. Biv. So the smallest one's the purple or violet one. Okay, and then we're going to do that again. All right, so these don't really have to go in that order. I'm just kind of showing you where they're, because we're going to glue them onto the charm. Just finding them all. Okay, so you should have 6 for each rainbow. All right, I think the easiest is to start with your smallest one. So here's what I do. So in the first little score line area, between the first 2 score lines, I just put a little rainbow stripe of adhesive, of glue. And that's not all the way to the edge because this is going to leave a little shadow all the way around. Then I'm going to take my quick stick, I'm going to pick up the purple one, I'm going to slide it into that glue until it's kind of lined up with the score line. And I'm not even really looking at the score lines, honestly. I'm just looking that I'm leaving a nice little shadow of white on the inside edge, you know. But you'll see that it does kind of match the first score line there, you know, you'll see. And then if you take your time with the first one, the next ones are easy because they just butt right up to the next one. In fact, you don't even really have to do your adhesive only in stripes. You could really, if you wanted to, you know, remember you have a shadow around the outside, so don't go all the way to the edge, but you really could, you know, cover the rest of it with adhesive. And then for each stripe, pick it up, slide it into the glue until it's just kind of snuggied right up next to the one next to the before it, and then try to get the bottom edges pretty straight, but recognize that for these we're putting clouds over the bottom edges anyway, so if those got off a little bit, you know, if you found that that was kind of a little zigzag in the end, it wouldn't matter because we're putting clouds on this rainbow. And then we'll do the next one. Okay, I maybe shouldn't have put my glue everywhere because I am making an absolute mess, but those of you who are watching me first and then doing it later, maybe do just put your glue one stripe at a time because I am picking the glue up with my fingers. Thank goodness for dries clear. Okay, so I'm just kind of, you know, making sure they match up with the one below. I'm not leaving any space between them. You won't have room for that. If you want to have that shadow all the way around, each stripe has to touch the one before. Oops. On my red one, I'm not straight across the bottom, so I'm just going to slide it a little bit. Although, again, I am putting clouds at the bottom. You know what, I'll leave it out of place so I can show you what I mean. See on the red one, I'm a little low here, which makes it a little high over here. I could pick it up and try and move it, but I'm going to be putting clouds right over the bottom of that rainbow, so nobody's ever going to be able to tell that that red stripe wasn't perfectly aligned. Okay. So for this rainbow, it gets 2 clouds, one on each side. And I wanted to use it this way too, not only with the pot, you know, for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but also just, this is just a really cute rainbow die that can be used year-round for any type of project. And I really don't see the good luck charms as being too specifically St. Patrick's Day, because I feel like there's other uses. I mean, you can use a 4-leaf clover for a good luck charm, or even a pot, rainbow pot if you wanted to, any time of the year. And just to say good luck. And then of course a rainbow could be for anything. And then even the leprechaun's hat is just a top hat. So you need a hat for a snowman or something, use this one. So it doesn't, you know, if you cut it out of green, it looks like a leprechaun's hat, but otherwise no. Yeah, my gluey fingers have created a gluey cloud. So I'm going to just take a white eraser and fix that up a little bit. Okay, at worst, if it really bugged me that I'd kind of smudged my cloud, I could cut another cloud and put it over the top. That is what's so nice about these classes and you all having the dies, is that I don't have to worry about you messing up a piece and me not being right there to give you a new one, you know? Okay, so this finished rainbow is going to glue onto the page over here. Let's do that. And I kind of, well, some placement's kind of up to you. I sort of have it a little bit tilted and down into the frame a bit. Show that real close. Maybe something like that, to your liking. And then to finish out this page, we're going to use one of our shiny Shamrock charms. Okay, so that was that trick that we did with the packing tape. And if you didn't watch the prep work video, it was Anne, shoot, Anne, I lost your name, Anne Bedard, I think is her name, is one of our Karen Burniston pop-up peeps. So we have a Facebook fan group where people are posting with our dies from all over the world, and you will be absolutely amazed at what they make. And Anne had posted a tip to somebody about if you wanted something shiny and you didn't have some glitter, mirror cardstock or glossy accents, or you didn't have time for glossy accents, that you could put packing tape over your cardstock before die cutting, and it would give you that shiny look. And I just thought that was such a brilliant tip, and I couldn't wait to use that in a class. Anyway, I keep trying to do it, and I'm not doing it because I want to tell you what I'm doing. On the shiny Shamrock charm, one of them, I think we have two. Oh no, I think we only have one of this one. Okay, we don't need the hole. This one's not going to be used as a charm. So cut the hole off, and then that's going to glue over here to that page in a location that pleases you. Oh, goodness. Isn't that nice when you drop? I drop a piece twice and it drops glue side up both times. See, that's some luck. That's my 4-leaf clover right there. Okay. Ta-da, we have one page done. All right, and then we're going to make another rainbow. So let's go ahead and make the other rainbow while we've got all the pieces out and it's fresh in our mind. Okay. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. This time I'm going to do it a little bit better, which is I'm going to just put my adhesive for one stripe at a time, since I made a gluey mess last time. Starting with the smallest one, purple, getting it set in that adhesive so that it leaves a little shadow. Okay, and then I'm just going to do one stripe at a time. Here comes blue. Now all of these cardstocks, every piece of cardstock in our kit came from the paper cut. I just absolutely love their pop tone 100-pound cardstock for our pop-ups. I wouldn't have had to use the 100-pound for these decorator pieces, but I just did because you have a lot left over, and then I knew that you would have the heavier weight cardstock in case maybe you wanted to make another fancy accordion and like mix and match like a red, yellow, orange page. You know, you'd have that strong cardstock with your leftovers. The only one that's not 100-pound is that blue. That celestial blue is actually 80-pound. The pop tone color blue, I guess if I remember correctly, was kind of dark. It didn't give me that. I wanted that more contrast between my green and my purple. So I went with celestial blue. It's still plenty strong. It's 80-pound, and you could still use it for an accordion page. But all of the rest of the cardstocks are the 100-pound. And this is the cardstock that we use in our exact packs. So we sell exact packs on our website, which are 6x6s of the colors needed to make our animals from our pop-up ball dies. So, oh my goodness, my orange one is way off. But once again, we're going to put a cloud on one side and the other side's going in a pot. I wouldn't have to move it, but I'm going to. So yeah, so we love the Paper Cuts 100-pound smooth cardstock for our dies. But then there's another cardstock company that we really love is My Colors Cardstock, and they also have 100-pound smooth cardstock, which works well with the dies as well. And their heavyweight cardstock works great. I love a smooth cardstock for the pop-ups. It's really nice because the score lines show up. You can, it doesn't get lost in the texture. All right, let's go ahead and finish out this embellishment while we have our rainbow. We're going to use only one cloud this time. That cloud's going to go on the right. Okay. And then over here on the left, we're going to make a pot of gold. Okay. So for this one, we're going to use one of our gunmetal pots. So that's another paper cut shiny metallic gunmetal. So it's not black and it's not silver. It's in the middle somewhere. And then we've got the gold that we cut out of the gold Miri sparkle. So these two pieces are in the Good Luck Charms. You die cut them. So there's your pot, and here's your gold. And the gold, there's a cut in the pot, so you just slide the gold into the pot until all the gold pieces are kind of sitting up at the top. And then you go to the back and you just add a little glue or a glue dot or something underneath where the glue touches the pot. And with that Miri sparkle, you got to give it a second because it's hard to glue glitter on. Okay, and this is the other thing I like about the gunmetal. It's always very forgiving for me and my gluey fingers. I can usually brush it right off. Okay, even though we're not using this one as a charm, you don't really need to cut the little hole off because you can tuck the rainbow right behind the gold and it will cover the hole. So see, the rainbow is actually going in behind the gold and down into the pot. All right, now you're going to have a choice on angle on that. So let's go ahead and get one of our frames out. Okay, one of these frames, the green one. And as you look at this, you know, maybe you need to put it against a page to make sure that you're doing it as a wide label, not a tall label. So see, it's not exactly the same all the way around. You want it to be a wide label in the same size or whatever, you know, shape as the pages. So we want a wide label. And if you want some green ink on that, just take your blending tool and your green ink. I didn't even re-ink mine because I just wanted to add a little to it. Highlight those press dots. Just doing a swirling motion here. Okay. Then I'm going to figure out where I want that pot, and then see, I can tilt that rainbow as needed to get it into a spot I like. So we're going to basically glue this to this frame. So no glue in the middle because we still want to be able to pick it up and move it onto our project later and use pop dots for it. But so I want the pot to hit this bottom left corner. So I'm going to start there. Get that on, let me show you. Okay. And then I have choices in how I angle that rainbow. So on mine, if you want it to match mine, I hit that rainbow up a little bit on the frame at the top, but then attached it over here with the cloud. Kind of the cloud ends up being right at the point of the frame pretty much. Okay. But this is definitely artist choice here. You can make a different choice if you prefer. If your rainbow does hit the top of the frame, feel free to throw a little glue under there too, so it, you know, is really nicely attached to the frame. Okay, and remember we have a wide frame, not a tall frame. Alrighty, and then the last little bit of decoration on this page is one of our, we have two Miri Sparkle Shamrock charms, so not the 4-leaf clover, but the one that's just the 3-leaf. And for this one, but this one only, it's not a charm. So we can cut that charm hole off. Okay. And then we're going to glue that overlapping the pot and the frame down here as a little embellishment. So that, let's see, which leaf touches the pot? Oh, I did the wrong one. It's this one. Not that it would matter, the glue is going to dry, but okay. Be a little overlapping, something like this. Little distance between the cloud and the shamrock. And then that back of that Miri Sparkle is a little plasticky, I guess, so to speak. And then the top of the gunmetal is shiny as all get out, so it's going to take your glue a second to dry up. And then if you are sloppy as all get out with glue, My goodness, me and my glue issues today. All right, so we've got this little frame done, and we're going to mount it on one of our green plaid things, but I think what looks really cool is to use foam tape or pop dots to get it on there, okay? So it doesn't really matter what size your pop dots are, you know, whether you got small ones, big ones. It doesn't really matter the height either. That's just personal preference, because you can just cut them. You know, you can cut them. Like what I usually do is I just leave them on the sheet if I need a whole bunch of small ones, and I just cut like right up the middle, and then I've just made all these tiny ones. And then I think what I'm going to do is hit some tinies in the four corners of my frame. This, like this, okay, and then maybe some big guys for my rainbow in my pot, okay, and then peel up the liner. Oh, not that one. You jumped on there without my permission. Pick up the liner. Okay. And then making sure that it's aligned the same way, so wide label, not tall. It's the exact same die, so it'll just go right over the top of the green one, and then you'll get that dimension. Okay. All right, we have one of our decorative pages done. Let's go ahead and get it on there so we don't... Now, I had you cut all of the pages with dies nested in the middle, and I knew you were going to end up with a whole bunch of leftovers that weren't used. And I already went through and put a rubber band around the ones that I knew I wasn't using because it would make it go faster for me on the video. But basically, we're not going to use all of them. We're just going to use certain ones. So the reason that I had you nest two dies together and cut, okay, was because now that middle label actually has press dots on the outside of the cut line as well. So basically you get some decorative press dots along the aperture, okay? Versus if I had just left this as a solid label, it would have given me the same effect because I could have glued it on there, it would have been a solid label, great. This would have just been over the solid label, but what I would have lost is the ability to have sort of the double press dot look. And it saves just a little bit of bulk because we don't need the paper in that location, and then that leaves you with a label that won't be used on this project, but that's sure pretty. You might use that on something else. So that's why we had you cut it with that extra label nested in the middle so that you could get that, that double press dot look when we glue that inside. So for page one, if you want it to match mine, you're going to be using one of your gingham frames. I did not do any inking on this. I just left it plain, but this is your project. You want to ink it, you can. Okay. And then I'm just going to go in there and look at the points. The points are the easiest way to get good centering on that. So I look at this point here, this point here, this one, and this one, you know, and get it to where it's centered in there. Remember, wide label, not tall. Okay, and then that's just going to sit right there in that middle spot. That's easy line up because it's where the hole is. You can even just put your adhesive. Oh goodness. Oh, absolutely no reason for me to do that, but I did it. Okay, so then it's just going to sit down in that opening. Cute, cute, cute. Alrighty, so let's go on to the next one. So let's get our frame out. Let's add a little green ink. Now, while we're in the business of inking, why don't we just ink both of our frames, because that's the only inking we need to do on this whole card. So I do a pretty light touch on my inking because I can always add more, but you know, it's hard to take it off. And even if it does look a little dark to you when you do yours, if you're using distress ink like I am, it will fade a little bit. If you're using another brand, I don't know, you might be stuck with whatever green you chose. Well, I guess you could turn it over. You'd have another shot. Have another shot at it. Okay, so that is all we're going to use for ink. All right, So for these, we're going to hang little charms. So in your baggie was a piece of twine that is plenty long to get 2 little pieces to go from here to here. So you'll have plenty, you'll have enough left over to do another card. What we're going to do is figure out about how much we need to span that label. I could give you a measurement, but really it's easier for you just to put your twine up to your label and give it a little swoop and figure out how wide it needs to be. And then let's go ahead and glue it on just one side because we've got to be able to string the charms on. So mine's separating a little bit, so I'm going to come up some to where it's not separating as much. I can, oh, mine's really separating. Hang on. I'm ditching this piece. I'm going with a new one. It's probably the easier solution. All right, where was I? I can figure out which one that had the glue on it. I guess it doesn't matter. The glue dried. Okay, trying that again. Over here. Sticking all the ends of my twine so it won't separate on me into a little dot of glue. Got it. Okay, then the other end, don't connect it yet because we've got to string some charms on here. Let's take the glue and add it to the end and roll it between your fingers a little bit so you kind of get a needle tip to that twine. Okay, that'll make it much easier to string through the charms. And on this one, we're going to string our other Miri Sparkle Shamrock charm. Now, does the twine go through over and through the hole or under and through the hole? It doesn't matter. I did over and through the hole, but I don't think it matters at all. You could make it work either way. So I did the twine over and through the hole, but that does not matter. Okay, and then we're going to do a hat. Now, we haven't assembled our hat yet, so let's take a second to assemble our hat. Here's the hat charm, and we cut 2 other pieces out of the die set for that hat, which is out of gunmetal, we cut the hat band, and out of the gold Miri Sparkle, we cut the buckle. And what I find works the best is to find something like a pokey tool, toothpick, you see that? And go under the outside and through the buckle like you're the belt, and then just kind of wiggle it so that you kind of open the buckle up. And then it's easier to slide the belt through, or the hat band, I guess I should say. Okay, we slide it through and it looks like this. Actually, I think it goes like, tapers down. It doesn't matter, but like this. Okay, and then see how the tapers are down? That's the way it fits the hat just perfectly because the hat is tapered down like this. So let's see here. And where does it go? It's kind of where you like it. I just go until it kind of matches the edge of the hat, which seems to be a little bit up from the corner. A little bit up from the corner. But it's not that sensitive, you know. You could do it whichever way. All right, so once again, I went over the hole and through the, over and through. But again, I don't think it matters. All right, and then once you have your 2 charms strung on your twine, they don't have to be in the perfect position yet, but you just kind of have to figure out how far down you want them to hang, so that when you glue this other end of the twine on, you leave yourself a pleasing swoop. You know, see how I have as a technical term, a pleasing swoop. All right, so this is the swoop that pleases me. So I'm going to put some glue here in this corner. Press that. Let me grab a Post-it note or something. Get it off of my fingers. Nope, now the Post-it note wants to take the twine with it. Okay. Then I'm going to cut off the excess. Alrighty, I have those. Okay, so looking here at my original, what I found, oh, I forgot, we were going to tuck a little tiny, there's the tiny shamrock that we did with the shiny packing tape trick, and I did tuck that kind of behind the buckle, if you can kind of get the stem maybe a little bit under the buckle, and it can hang on the hat like that. Forgot about that. Okay. Like that. Okay, so I think what's easiest on this before we add our pop dots and all is to actually anchor the charms down, you know, kind of like we did with the pot and the rainbow, so that then it's just acting like a unit. So for me, I made sure that just the very tip of the hat was touching the frame over here on the right. Okay, see, already that's just so much easier because it's not hanging down. And then I don't, you know, this one doesn't matter. You can anchor it against the hat. That's what I did on the original. I just had a little bit of the shamrock overlapping, or you could put some separation between them and anchor it over here on the frame. That's really completely up to you. I think I'll anchor it on the hat again. I liked that look, so. Or you don't have to anchor it at all if you just want to, you know, put some pop dots behind it and anchor it that way, you could. All right, once again, we are going to use some pop dots to add our finished little decoration to one of our green medium labels. All right, so getting back to my pop dots, I have the other half of those halfies, the half ones that I cut. So I'm going to do those in the corners again. Not over the top of the twine, just because why bother? I'll just go near it. I guess I could go over the twine. Maybe that would hold the twine from... Four in the corners, and then something big in the hat, and then maybe a small one. Ooh, we have to do a half one on the shamrock. Oops. Okay, then I peel up the liners. I was talking a little bit earlier about Anne's really cool packing tape trick that she shared with us on the Pop-Up Peeps page. So if you are new to the brand, you may not know about our Facebook group, the Karen Burniston Pop-Up Peeps. It's a real friendly group. People are posting from all over the world because our dies are sold internationally. And there's just some great inspiration there. We have rules. Like, first of all, you know, you got to use our dies, you know, for the substantial part of the card, and especially for the pop-up part. So it's Pop-Up Peeps, but it's our brand specific Pop-Up Peeps. It's not like sort of a, you know, use other brands. Or you can use other brands for your decorator stuff. You can use stamps and dies and stuff from other companies. We play real nice with others. But since our core product is our dies, our pop-up dies especially, we do ask that you majorly feature our brand on your shares that you put there. You have to be kind. We don't allow people being mean. Got to keep the topic always to paper crafting. And yeah, there's no selling. You know, you can't sell on it, stuff like that. But anyway, you just go in, you find, search for Karen Burniston Pop-Up Peeps on Facebook, and then answer a couple questions, and then you can join. So yeah, there's lots of inspiration. And I find so many people will be like, hey, has anybody made whatever? And then other ones will jump in and say, yeah, I've done that, you know, they're really super friendly. It's a great group. Tons of inspiration. Alrighty, moving on to our last page. We got a whole other card to do, so we gotta pick up the pace here. Second one will go a little quicker. Doesn't have quite as many pieces. Alrighty, so we need another piece of twine to span this one at a pleasing swoop. We're going to do the exact same thing we did on the other one, which is we're going to attach it at one end with some glue. Remember, you're doing horizontal label, wide, not tall. Okay. And for this one, I feel like I am going to put a pop dot right over the top of that. I'm going to do it now. Oh my goodness, man, this twine. See, for everyone who thinks all my YouTube videos are so polished and everything, it's because I don't, you know, if I mess up my twine like that, I just like stop the camera and film it again. And, you know, I lead you to believe I got it right the first time. But I don't always. I don't always. I just try and keep the YouTube videos real tight, you know, so I figure you don't always want to watch me make mistakes. Sometimes if I make mistakes, I'll tell you what I did and how I fixed it and stuff like that. But for the most part, you don't see me just, you know, getting glue all over my projects and making my twine separate and all that stuff. I just edit that out. Okay, so we've got another pot of gold. All right, sorry, my pot of gold dropped on the floor. I had to find it. All right, so here's the pot of gold. We're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to tuck the gold inside. We're going to add a little spot of glue to hold the hold the gold to the back of the pot. And then I wanted to show how you can use one of your rainbow stripes to be a handle for your pot. So there may be sometimes when you want to have a little handle on your pot, and I don't remember what, it's in your handout which rainbow stripe that is. I can't, oh, it's here, we can just look right here. It is rainbow stripe 4. Nope, 5. It's rainbow stripe 5. Rainbow stripe 5 is the one that fits really nicely as a handle for the pot. So maybe if you're using it as a cauldron at Halloween or something, you know, for a little witch's brew, it might look fun to have that little rainbow stripe handle. I'm just doing the ends. You could glue all the way along there, but for me and my glue today, I think I'm safer just gluing at the ends. Okay, so there's that. And then we have our 4-leaf clover that we cut out of the Miri Sparkle. Okay, so once again, I went over and through. I did 4-leaf clover. Then I did over and through pot of gold. Okay. And then once again, I tried to anchor my pieces by having them touch the frame a little bit, just making it easier to move as a unit. So, seem to have done this one down in this right corner, and then my 4-leaf clover. I think just a little bit of the leaf overlapping, maybe touching the pot a little bit over there. So I'm doing just a smidge overlap. Seem to like the word smidge today. Okay, and then I can kind of make my swoop come up and hit that upper corner again. What could I use? Save my hands a little bit. Okay, and then cut that little end off. Here we go. And just like our previous ones, we're going to use some pop dots. Get another row of halvies. Hit the corners with my half ones. You can do more. I mean, technically you could cut the whole die shapes, you know, out of like foam tape or something, you know, like that frame. And then the whole thing would be, you know, thick and elevated, but I don't usually do that. Okay, that one's already sticky. Peeling up the liners. And that's going to go here. All right, so on this page, we're going to put one of the gingham green frames. Remember, horizontal, not vertical, meaning wider than tall. Okay, and then final decorative piece here. All right, there we have it, all the decoration on the front of our card. And then let's turn this over like a book instead of versus turning it like this. Actually, I don't know that it would matter, but let's just be in the habit of turning it like a book. So flip it over this way. Okay, and then let's put our frames on these 3 pages before we attach our labels, since it'll be harder to get them in. Now, if you ever forgot, you know, you just put your whole album together and you're like, oh, I love it, and then you look on the back and you're like, oh, I want to add some frames. You could always take those frames, cut them in one location, weave it around, and get it on the page. So this is not a deal. You don't ever have to undo these, you know, if you accidentally put them together first. But since we haven't put ours together, we can put our frames on the back first. So starting here next to the solid page, if you want it to match mine, you're going to go with the light green. And again, if you think it doesn't match so perfectly one way, you can turn it a quarter turn and see if you think it matches better that way. It should be a perfect square, but you know, if you line it up the exact way the die cut it, you know, it's the same die that was used for that page in that frame, so then it will definitely fit. Okay, then we're going to do green gingham for our middle page here. What's nice about putting these papers on the back, it's very voluntary, you know, I don't always decorate the back of my card, but since we're switched page colors, then you see those long tabs where they were connected, and so this kind of covers up most of that. So just to add a little polish. Some people like to put pictures on the back, or even just decorate the back with more charms or something. You absolutely could, but you don't have to. Now this big one would be a good spot if you needed more space to write than this little bit. You could put like a label here on the back and then sign it, write your personal greeting and stuff on the back. Okay, last one. This is actually the front of the album when it's closed up. So when it's closed up, you're going to see this page here. So this is the one. I guess if you want to take pains to make sure that it lines up really perfectly, that is the front of your album. Okay, final frame on. And if you got a little off or something and it bugged you, it's not like you couldn't take a little ink, you know, some of that green ink maybe around an edge or something, and you know, get it on there. Oh, I did pretty well. I did pretty well, y'all. I'm happy with this. Okay, let's put this thing together. So let me tell you the concept of the accordion. Okay, it's opposite zigzags. So you start by making your big pages go in a zigzag fashion, and for our card we're going to start with a valley fold. So ignoring the fact that we have inner labels, we're going to go valley, and then here is mountain. I'm looking at the top of the mountain, and then valley. So see, I can get it into that. Basically it looks like a capital letter M if I'm looking from the top. Okay, and then I'm going to twist this first page so that the tabs are inward. And then I'm going to do the opposite with this one. So I'm going to go to the right with this one. So I, you know, came forward so that these two can join together. And then same thing, I'm going to do the opposite this way. So this is going to go this way. See, and then now those can join together going right through the album like you see here. Okay? And what's going to connect them are these little small tabs that are between them. See those little small tabs? So this one is going to be a mountain fold. They're going to fold to the back. It doesn't matter. You can fold them either way, you know, both ways if you want. But basically that connection is going to be mountain, just like that. Okay. Then this one back here is going to be valley. So those tabs are going to go up. Let's see if I can find. And then that's going to sit into that valley like that. See? And these tabs are not needed. But I never really have my students cut their tabs off until we have it all put together, because inevitably what happens is I say, cut these tabs off, and then someone cuts out all 6 and we have to make new tabs and stuff. So it's just better to be in the habit of getting your album together and then cutting off your funnel tabs. So I only need glue on the tabs, side tabs between page 1 and 2 and between page 2 and 3. I don't need any glue over here because it's not going to be needed. Okay, so now I'm going to bring this one over to this one. Attach it. Okay. And then notice this is in front of the valley. So see, the labels are in front. But now they're going to be behind because we're doing, you know, behind. This is staying as a zigzag, and these are just shooting straight through the album. So now I'm going to reach in behind there. See if I can find an angle where you can see. Reach in behind there and get those tabs attached. Now these ones are valley fold. So you're going to pinch it, and then once we train it, every once in a while they're going to, you know, want to come off because you're asking them to strain around the bend. So get a good adhesion on that, and you may just have to be prepared to reattach them if they fly off. All right, and then these two we don't need. So let's take our scissors, cut those off. Oops, I'm going to go this way. All right, and then the last thing we need to do is train these 3 labels, which are right now completely straight. We want to train them to be the opposite accordion to the one that's in the back. So this one is valley, mountain, so we need to go mountain, valley. See, we're going to twist this way. Their hands. And then it's going to go down, and it's going to pivot that first page around till it becomes the front of the album. Okay, and then as you open it, it'll expand like this. Okay, well done. Well done. You got card 1 done. I think that's everything. I don't see anything left in my tray other than all those ones that I rubber banded together. Okay, I would love to talk some more about fancy label accordions and good luck charms and things, but guess what? We've used a whole bunch of our time, so I have to jump right into the second card. So I'm going to get cleaned up, and we're going to jump into the Easter card next. Okay, before we dive into making this card, just a little bit more clarifying information about the Heart Collage pop-up. So it is really a shrunken version of our very popular photo collage pop-up. So this is a die set that we already have out that does that 4-arm spinner, but in a bigger size, and it's designed for an A2 size card or larger, and the decorator pieces that come with that one are these little photo frames, and then you can fill those with photos, or maybe you're gonna do a combination of maybe 1 or 2 photos and then some embellishments in your little photo frames. Maybe you're going to do all embellishments in your photo frames, but the photo collage is really designed for a side fold card and A2 size card or larger. And then with the shape collages, they're designed for a top fold card, you know, using shapes. So they're smaller. It's a much smaller little mechanism, but it really operates the same. So the differences between the two is mainly size, and then the decorator pieces that come included, and the fact that the spinner for a shape collage is really meant for a top fold card. Could you use it in side fold? Sure, you could, but it's just that the elements are really designed to be put on the spinners as a top fold. Okay, so we're going to be making the top fold today, but we're not going to do a slim line. We're actually going to do an A2 size card. So you can always go bigger. You can always get a bigger card. And you know, how much you decorate it, you know, we're going to do a relatively simple collage today so that everyone can be real successful, you know, because you do have to watch for catch points and things. But as you get more familiar with doing these shape collages, you can really have fun. Just, I mean, it's almost like a puzzle the way it all folds down, you know, and gets hidden. Okay, so let's dive in. We're going to make ourselves a top fold A2 card in an Easter theme. And you have done your prep work. Let's set those mechanisms aside for a second and get our card put together. I'm going to use my tray again. Thank you, Carol, for my tray. Okay, not as many pieces in this card, which is nice. Okay, the first thing we need is our top fold card. So that's A2 size. We're going to, you know, let's just go ahead and start and do the front of the card. Let's just get that out of the way. So for this one, what I had you do is I had you take the journaling cards, and I had you with either your scissors or your craft knife. I used my scissors, so you can see how it's a little unsightly there where I did it. Get in and trim out the middle part of it, which is the bunny kisses and Easter wishes. And since this was a 4x6 journaling card, I had you cut the top and the bottom so that it would fit on an A2. Okay, so our base of our card is going to be this, this plaid. And this is top fold, right? So the fold is at the top. And you can use a tape runner, you know, to put this on if you prefer. That's up to you. I tend to use glue for everything because of my South Texas climate down here. It tends to unstick tapes and tape runners. But maybe you have great success with tape runners. And so then you could do that. This is just paper on paper. Okay, and the reason that I had you trim that out was because we cut a rectangle of the cool Miri sparkle to cover that up first, and then that goes in the middle. Okay, and then that Miri sparkle is going to cover any kind of unsightly business where you started your scissors, if you cut that out with scissors instead of a craft knife or your trimmer. Okay. Now I didn't use any pop dots anywhere on this. You could, I suppose. I like to keep the cards as flat as I can because then you can mail them for no extra postage. And look how flat that card gets. That's just going to slide right into an envelope and mail for a single stamp. But if you start adding a bunch of pop dots and things, then you may end up with your extra ounce stamp on your envelope. Okay. Could you have made a creative choice and chosen a different journaling card? Absolutely. And if you want to make a second card, you'll choose a different one from your leftovers to make your next card. Okay, I had you cut some flowers using our fancy label accordion. I did white ones with yellow centers and a pink one with a white center. And we're going to glue those in this upper left corner. And I'm basically just putting it together the way that my original is, but of course you can make creative choices for things like this. You know, it doesn't have to exactly match mine. This is just the front of the card. Okay. Like that. And then we know how to make a rainbow. We're going to make a rainbow with 2 clouds, but this time it's just going to be a 3-color rainbow, and those colors are going to repeat. We are not going to use this as a charm, so just like we did with the last card, you can cut that charm hole off. Just like we did with the last card, we're going to start with the smallest rainbow stripe, and we're going to get the glue into the first 2 sets of score lines there. And our smallest color is yellow. So I'm just getting it in there, and I'm looking at my inside shadow, making sure that I've got a good inside shadow. Okay. Then I'm going to add some glue around the perimeter of that first one, and my next color is green. And I just snuggie it right up to the first one. And then I keep going. So next will be pink, and then I'll repeat those same 3 colors. So you can do rainbows with whatever colors you want. That's the beauty of die cutting, because you always get to choose what colors you're doing. Yellow next. Okay, then green. Oops. We are putting 2 clouds at the bottom of this one, just like we did on card 1. So if you don't get the ends perfect on the bottom edge, it doesn't matter because they won't be shown. Oh goodness, me and glue today. It's funny, after I filmed the first card, I had to go throw it up on the computer and see how much time I'd taken, because we're supposed to try and keep these to 2 hours. I was a little worried about it. But after I, edited out the parts that were extraneous and everything, then I got it down to like, I don't know, an hour and 23 minutes or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I got to teach this one in 40. But, boy, I tell you what, by previewing that class, I told you about 1,000,000 times that those labels were wide and not tall, to the point where I was kind of annoying myself. I'm like, okay, Karen, they got it. They got it. So, little things you notice. All right, so I put my, clouds on, and then I'm going to glue that over here in this right corner, and I kind of went at a cute angle and just kept it out of the word wishes. Okay, like this. So I like to do this. I love pattern papers, and these pattern papers from Echo Park are just the cutest things ever. And they do a lot of the work for you, especially for card fronts. You know this thing's going to be displayed open. This is where the magic is. So I'm not here to double your work. I do simple card fronts. But by mixing in some die cut elements, you get the, the height and the texture and things of having a layered card, even though most of the work is done by just flat pattern paper. We cut bunnies. We cut 3 of them out of white cardstock. These are from our Easter charms. And I had you stencil the eyes on at the time that you did the die cutting. And I told you then during die cutting that we are going to turn these into brown chocolate bunnies using ink. So first things first is they are not going to be used as charms for this card, so we can cut off the hole on the back of the ear on all 3. We're going to go ahead and ink all 3 and have the other ones ready for the inside of the card. I did a poor job there. Okay. So I'm using Vintage Photo Distress ink. I don't think it really matters. Just some sort of medium brown to turn these into chocolate bunnies. Or maybe leave them white if you prefer white bunnies. That's fine too. But because they're chocolate, I'm not even going to try and leave the tail white or anything. I'm just going to swirl my ink everywhere. You know, I like to do a swirling pattern on them. And then how dark do you want them? That's up to you. So on mine, I actually got them, you know, pretty dark. Like I went for a couple passes, I guess, so to speak, until they were medium chocolate brown kind of color. Okay, I'm going to call that good for this one. And then I mentioned if you have a brown ink or brown pen, again, I love these Staedtler Triplus fine liners, are my favorite. They come in all sorts of colors. And if you feel like you have a steady hand, it's pretty easy to get down in that groove to really highlight the lines on the bunny. Okay, and you could do that with a black pen too because it's substantially the same. All right, so that's complete. All right, and I'm just going to do that 2 more times. So ink and highlight. It doesn't have to be this brown. If you've got a different brown ink that you like, go for that, or, you know, make them different. Make them different browns, make them different colors. You could do a pink bunny, green bunny. Doesn't matter. And if you hated your inking job, you have this die. Grab your die cutting machine and your leftover white cardstock and cut you another one. Or go to your scrap bin and grab a brown color and just cut it out of brown from the start. And then you don't have to bother with ink. Some people don't like inking. These could be cut out of brown. I like the variation of the ink with these. That's why I did it this way, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, then I'm going to do my pen. There in between the ears. And this one. Between the ears. Is ready. So let's put some little bows on our bunny. So that was that cool packing tape trick. And we've got yellow bow. Let's see what colors we did with the bunny. So we've got 2 yellow bow bunnies and 1 green bow bunny, and then the pink bow is going to go down here. You could change it up if you want. But if you want it to match mine, it's 2 yellows and a green for these bunnies. That little bow comes in the Easter charm set. Okay, and then you can put that just kind of up at the bunny's neck, I guess, just to your liking. Okay. Now we've got our bunnies ready for inside on our shape collage. I'm going to set 2 of those aside, and then one of my yellow bow bunnies is just going to go here on the front of the card in this bottom right corner. And at whatever angle something like this. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so inside the card, we're going to first put all of our pattern paper down. Find something to keep that open with. There we go. Okay. So You've got 2 pieces of plaid paper. I mean, if you care about the plaid matching up, you need to go to the back side and figure out where the flowers match up. You know, top to bottom like mine match up right here. And then when you flip it around, the plaid will match up. The plaid is just an all-over pattern, so you really don't have to worry too much about it matching up. But if that's something that you want to have happen, you can certainly figure that out on the floral side. And what we're going to do with these 2 4-inch squares of pattern paper, the plaid, is we're going to start them near the fold and centered, but not up to the fold. Just leave a little gap at the fold so that the paper doesn't bunch, since we're putting a whole pop-up in there as well. Okay, show that a little closer. It started near the fold, but not up to the fold. All right, and then this one on the other side. Same location, other side of the fold. Then you have your 2 pieces of cottontail paper to finish out the inside. So that can overlap your plaid paper so that you keep an even border around the outside. Okay. I just think these papers are so darling. Okay, there's that one. And of course, make sure, unless you're making a creative choice, make sure that you've got your card oriented, you know, so that the front opens like this and then your bunnies are right side up. Okay, like this. Okay, and then for over the seam between the papers, or I actually just kind of kept it up on the bunny paper because it was easier, is we've got those little skinny Miri sparkles. Now I didn't have you cut it yet to 4 inches wide because they're so skinny. You can do that with scissors. So what you do is you just put your adhesive there on the bunny paper right along the edge. Line up that Miri sparkle stripe. And then when you get to this side, it's real easy to trim that with scissors. I'm right-handed, so I'll flip it around. It's like that. Okay, and we'll do the same up here. Adhesive right along the edge of the paper. Okay, oops. Oh, I took my eraser to that. Stray adhesive in a pop-up card is not your friend. You don't want stray sticky spots in a pop-up card, so you always want to watch for that. And I seem to have somehow gotten a little... Okay, so we have Happy Easter for the top. That came out of the Easter charms. It doesn't have a shadow, so what I like to do when I have a die that doesn't have a shadow but I want to give it a little dimension, then I just cut it out of 2 colors, glue them together, and offset the back one a little bit diagonally. Doesn't matter which diagonal. I usually do bottom right. I don't know why, I just do. So when I glue the yellow one to the purple one, I just have the purple one offset a little bit towards the right on a diagonal. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put my glue all over my Happy Easter. That's the purple one, the back one. Because you're going to see so little of it, and even if a little bit of glue doesn't get covered, it will dry clear. Okay, so now Happy Easter is covered in glue. And then, or the purple one, and then I'm going to put the yellow one over the top and kind of slide it until it is in that drop shadow position. Ooh, there we go. You see that? Okay, and then that's going to kind of straddle over the top of that Miri sparkle up there. I want to keep that pretty high because I don't want anything that's going to become a catch point for my collage. So you can see it's very far from the bunny. I could actually come down a little bit on it if I wanted to. So you have a little bit of choice on that, but not too much. You know, you could probably come down. Something like this would be maximum because you don't want to create a, you know, you have to think about this one catching on it when it's in the closed position. So you know what, keep it high. keep it high up on your card so it's not an issue. That's the one thing about shape collages and the photo collage as well, is you have to watch for catch points because you're trying to create a puzzle here where things are all kind of collapsing down and meshing together in an interesting way, but you have to be flexible with locations on things. You can't be too rigid with your placement because you know, you may have to move something to make it work. Okay, Happy Easter at the top, and then at the bottom we're going to do a place to write a personal greeting, so white over green on our fancy labels. Okay, like this. And then again, we got to keep it low, not too low, but you know, we've got a collage here. So placement, I'm going to say keep at least a third of your label into the bunnies. Okay, so we leave room for that collage. I'm even a little lower than I was on this one, but that will definitely give me room for it. Okay, and then we have our packing tape trick bow to go down here at the bottom just to give a little more visual interest to our signing block. Okay, all right. So that is the finished card interior, and it is now ready for a pop-up. Okay, so let's set everything aside here. And let's get our pop-up mechanisms out. Now remember, these were pre-cut for you. Fix my camera's a little crooked there. All right, these were pre-cut for you out of our heart collage pop-up. So you have two of them. You only need one, so I'm going to have you learn on one, and then you can keep that one as a go-by. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to sketch in, and you can do the same if you want, the score lines that are in the piece. So around that square in the middle, that hole in the middle, there's X cuts, or X fold lines, an X worth of fold lines. And then connecting from that square up the middle, and then kind of connecting those two diagonal cuts, there's a vertical fold. And you're going to be looking at yours to see this, but just kind of showing you on the screen here. And then right at that corner, there's also a horizontal that's in line with that slot there, just right across here. And same thing over here, right across here. See, I have a triangle here and a triangle here, and this one's an open triangle. It doesn't have one up down here or around here. But these I like to call the elbow arms. This one and this one. See, this one doesn't have an elbow. It just goes straight out. This one goes straight out. It doesn't have an elbow. But these ones have an elbow. And right at the base of the elbow, here and here, there's a fold line. Okay, so those are the fold lines that are in this piece. Okay, the first ones that we're going to train are, which way am I going to do this? I'm going to fold it, I'm going to turn it this way. Okay, I'm going to turn it so I've got a horizontal through the middle, and I'm going to fold it on that horizontal. And look, it doesn't go all the way through. See how this pops up and this pops up? We're just basically doing right there. See, we're folding it away from ourselves. These are sticking up, and then back to flat again. Okay, let's rotate it until one of these diagonals is horizontal to us, and let's fold on that diagonal. Okay, and notice, see, I'm letting the arms fly where they fly. I'm not trying to go all the way out to these arms. I'm just trying to do the fold that's in the middle here. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees so that this diagonal, and I'm going to fold that one. So now I've worked this fold, and this fold. Okay, and then for these ones that have the slots, they're going to fold at the base and come to the middle like this. Okay. All right, let's talk about our elbow arms. What our elbow arms are is they're in the wrong position. That's what the little fold line is for, because where the arms really need to be is over here, sticking up in this location, okay? But they couldn't be put there in the original die because I needed that material for right here. So I just offset them with a fold line. So the best thing to do, I think, is just to fold them to the back. It doesn't matter if you fold to the front or the back, but let's just fold them to the back. So our elbow arms are going to fold on those lines to the back. And now they're in the right position. They're up and down, right where they need to be. But they're not glued down. We need to glue them down. So on the back, let's take the elbow arm and glue it to that little triangle right there. Okay, I'm gluing my elbow arm down. Okay, and now when I turn it back to the front and open it all back up again, these arms are in the right position. Okay, they were out here, we folded them in. And we've worked all the folds, so now we're going to try to get these little three-fold areas to come up like mountains. So what I mean by that is we're going to try to fold this in half while pinching those little mountains to come inward. See what's happening right there? I'm going to get real close. See those mountains coming inward? Okay, so I start like this. I've got that horizontal fold right there. I take my fingers out to the corners, and I'm trying to get the center to come in while those mountains collapse into the piece. And when they do and it folds down, you're going to have like a little Android robot here. Okay, let me go back out again and do it again. Remember, you can rewind this and see it again. If you're not getting it on class day when it goes onto YouTube, you can just rewind it as many times as you need to. So we're trying to get these mountains to fold into the piece as we bring these big areas together. And when we do, we have a little kind of robot Android looking thing. See him? Isn't he cute? Okay, we have the same thing on the back side too. It's exactly the same. So here's our little robot. Okay, his arms are sticking out, his legs are sticking down. Okay, we're going to glue our robot faces down now. Now, we don't need to get the glue all the way over the entire thing. We basically just need to focus here in the middle, kind of where the face is. In fact, where that triangle is out to the side, you know, I would just avoid it. So let's just keep our glue here in the middle of the face. Okay, we just want enough to keep it on the card, but not so much that it has to be shellacked out to the outside or anything. Okay, so that's where our glue is going to go when we put it inside the card. Okay, I'm going to put a big G here for his nose. Glue's going to go here in his face. Okay. Now, my suggestion is, since this one's drawn on the front side, I mean that side doesn't matter. That's going to be not going to be visible in the card, but these will be. So if this is the one you want to use, then I would take your eraser then and get rid of those lines. If you're using this one, just on the front, the robot faces don't matter. But if you have this die or plan to get this die, if this is on your purchase list, then you could keep this one that's folded up like a little robot. You could keep that with your die set as your little go-by to remind yourself when you go to do it again. Okay? All right, so let's do that one more time. This time I'm not going to draw on it. Okay? We're going to do it again. So here, let's unfold our robot so we can see what we're looking at here. Okay, there's a fold in the middle that's across, that goes through the hole, but it doesn't go through these bits over here. So when we fold it in half, we're going to let these come up wherever they want to be. Okay? Then we're going to open it up and we're going to go to the diagonals. And again, we're just going to fold the diagonal from here to here. We're not folding out through our elbow arms or anything, just in the center. Okay? Turn it. Do it again. All right, so that creates the folds that make the mountains. These little slotted areas have a fold right here that brings them to the middle, here and here. Okay, and then we have to work on elbow arms. So elbow arms have a little fold to be able to fold them to the back and glue down into the new position. So elbow arms to the back. On the back, we're going to glue them down in their new position, attaching to that little triangle right there. Okay, pinch, pinch. Okay, back to the front, open it all up. Let's find the robot. Okay, so what we have to do is right here where the mountain is, we need to get it coming into the piece. See, I'm taking my behind there. Here, get it coming in while we close, basically from this side to this side. We want those things to come in. And then we have, there's our little robot. Okay. And remember, just kind of the center of the robot's face. Doesn't have to get all the way out to the edges or anything. It likes to have a little lift. It likes to have the ability to lift up in the thing. That's where our glue is going to go. All right, you're ready to go. We're going to put this in the card. The first thing I think is easiest to do is give yourself a mark at the center of the card. So this is a 4 1/4 inch wide card, so that means 2 1/8 is the center. And I'm going to give myself a pretty good pencil line, 2 1/8. With me? I don't know why I'm asking you. I can't hear you. I don't know if you're with me or not. I hope you are. Okay, remember you can rewind. You can rewind and rewatch this. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put glue on just one robot face. Which side doesn't matter. They're the same. So I'm going to put glue all over my robot face. Like this. Okay, then I'm going to open this thing up back to its flat position again. This is the one with glue. All right, and then I can get that hole right down over that line that I just made, and I can look out here to the side and make sure that I feel like the horizontal line that's in my base is lined up with the fold underneath. See, so I'm taking my time. I'm looking down through that hole and making sure my pencil line is in it. I'm looking that this looks really horizontal through here. Okay, and I'm just gluing this one robot face down. See, here's my other robot face. It hasn't been glued down yet. All right, now I didn't glue that other robot face down because it's really easy now to get these slots together without gluing robot face down yet. Okay, and once you get those notches together, and I mean get them all the way together. Let me do that again. So remember, we've already worked the folds that bring those notches to the center. Now what we want to do is twist so that we can get those notches together, and then once they're together, slide them until they stop. They need to be all the way together so that you get kind of like a little pair of lips in the middle. See that? So all the way together. All right, when we glue the other robot face down. So see, it's going to pop out right now, but I mean when I glue the other robot face down, I'm going to make sure that my notches are all the way together. All right, how do I get glue on the other robot face? I backfold the card just a bit, and I put my adhesive all over my robot face. Okay, and then I make sure that my notches are all the way together, so I'm holding those together while I press down that face. Oops. Notches together, press and hold. Okay, now first time I'm going to close the card, I'm going to go real slow and I'm going to see, does it start to spin? See, all four should start to spin as I close the card. Okay, let's say they didn't. You had really squished it down and had managed to invert a fold, so it's not wanting to close. See, this one's just laying flat on the ground. All right, so what you do in that case is you take your finger underneath there and you remind it that there's mountain folds underneath there. Right along the fold, there's mountain folds. So if you just get your finger in there, it'll pop it back up again, and then you'll see all four of your arms are spinning. Okay, that's what you're looking to see. And there you go. And you can see how generic this is. What can you add to those arms? Anything you want, as long as you can close it, right? Because you gotta watch for catch points and things as you decorate it. But that is the essence of any of the photo collages. And now we just get to do the fun part, which is decorating. Okay, and you have this one for either your next card or a go-by to keep with your die set if you buy that die. Or if this one just feels wrecked, you know, maybe you tortured your folds trying to do it. This is the first time you've ever done it, whatever. You got this one to go and do it again. Okay, but we will not need this robot in class today. Radio, well, let's talk about decorating this thing. I always like to start with my centerpiece. My centerpiece for this collage is going to be a square that we cut the bunny paper out. I think it looks a little nice if we've brushed some ink along the sides. Okay, a little brown ink, give it some dimension. But this one we're going to have to fold it up the middle hot dog style. It's going to need a vertical fold right up the middle for it to fit down in our center piece of our collage. Okay, so I just do that. I mean, make it a pretty loose fold, you know, so it will want to unfold nicely for you as the collage opens. You don't want it to be a stiff fold, so maybe back and forth a couple times. All right, once you have that with a loose fold, where that's going to glue is right here to our center piece. See? Here, I made it a smiley face for you. Okay, so rather than put the adhesive on the back of the square, because we don't know where it's going to touch the pop-up, the adhesive needs to go on the pop-up. And that's why I think glue is the best thing for this, because you can direct the glue where you want it to go, and it's much easier than tape when you've got an awkward shape like that. Sorry, that's Lucy. She would really, really like her dinner. So she's letting us know. I wonder if she's done. Okay, I think she's done. All right, so on placement vertical, it doesn't really much matter, but I tend to find with that centerpiece, what did I do here? Actually, I just centered it. I just flat on centered it. Sometimes I find if I move it up a little bit, I can get a bigger item over here, but I've got plenty of space for that eggs to clear. So you're fine just basically kind of centering it this way and that way, you know. And when you go to put it on, now I mean you could squish, 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 but I prefer to get the fold down in the fold and then pinch it on by pinching it to my fingers versus this, all right? Because then I'm squishing it down. I might collapse my mountain. I just prefer to pinch it on just to the place it needs to go. And then again, every time we add something, we're going to close the card real slowly to make sure it doesn't catch on anything. This one won't because it's the only piece we have on, so there's nothing for it to catch on. Just make sure it's operating really, really nicely. No problems. Bunny's opening and closing, pinched on nicely to that center thing. Alrighty, now the way these arms is different. So the top and the bottom arms for a top fold shaped collage pretty much just slide along the card and come into a closed position near the fold. So our concerns on this one is that we kind of keep this item this way and we keep this item this way compared to the arms, just so that, you know, we keep it where it can close. All right, so those are just mostly slide. They just slide and slide. These ones flip over. So these two have more potential to catch on something because it's actually flipping over and coming really close to the center item when it does. And then they've got to kind of find the spot where they can lay on top of each other in the closed position. Whereas the top two, they go in opposite directions, but these two come together. So I usually start with right and left when I'm doing a collage, because these ones are easier placement top and bottom on this, a little bit harder right to left for potential catch points. So what do we need? Okay, we're going to start with a pattern paper egg. I'm going to use the floral one. This is an egg charm, but we're not using it as a charm. So I'm going to cut off the hang hole, and then I'm just going to brush a little brown ink around the outsides, that pattern paper. Okay? And I am going to glue that egg really far out here on this right arm, okay? Because I want it to clear that. I don't want it too far in because it's going to get caught up on that thing. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to put my adhesive out here on the end of the arm, okay? And I'm gonna put it pretty far up on the arm, and I mean very far out on the arm. It can even stick out of the card because it doesn't matter. That's not the closed position. The closed position is down here. See? And then I'm going to carefully close it, and look at how, I mean, I just have it just barely touching the arm, but look how close it comes to that center bunny. If I get too far in, it's going to scrape on center bunny. That's why you got to get it pretty far out. And if it does scrape on center bunny, you peel it off real quick and you move it. You know, you move it up, or you move it out, or you move it tilted this way, or tilt it that way. Whatever you have to do to get a location where it doesn't catch on center bunny. And if you go real far out on the arm, like I did here, you'll be fine. Okay? Then for our next one, we're going to go off of that one, but we don't have it prepared yet. So let's fill out the arm with a couple jelly beans. So a couple jelly bean charms out of the set. We're not using them as charms. So I'll cut off the holes. And I'm going to do an orange one kind of in on the arm. So my adhesive here. Stick that orange one. I'm pretty much sticking with the arm, you know, like keeping it pretty much on the arm so that I don't have to worry about it catching on anything, because the arm doesn't catch. So if I stay with the arm, I'll be fine. So see, I just went in there like that, okay? Then I'm going to span the rest of the space with my green jelly bean, and then I'm going to have it overlap both the orange jelly bean and my pattern paper one, if it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean? Depends on where you put yours. But I'm just going to span out there another jelly bean. And again, I'm just kind of sticking with the location of the arm because I know that's not a catch point, but I'm still going to check it. I check everything as I go. All right, cool. Got those two. Now, we're going to make some eggs using our Easter charms. Let's just set this aside for a second and work on these eggs. Let's find the 3 striped egg overlays and then the 3 white egg charms. Okay, for white egg charms, we're not using them as charms today, so the holes can come off the top. Okay. And what we're going to do with these is we're going to alternate the stripes to make 3 different striped, you know, multi-striped eggs. Let me show you what I mean by that. See, on this one, it goes pink, green, yellow, pink, green, yellow. But here it goes green, yellow, pink, and here it goes yellow, pink, green, yellow, pink, green. Because what I'm going to do is going to separate these into individual stripes. Here's how I think the easiest way to do that is yeah. Let's do it this way. Let's snip it on one side only, okay? Because they're so close to the edge, you can almost just tear them apart. But if we snip them apart, and I'm just going to choose the right side. So see, now it's you know, like that. And I'm going to do that with each of them. And I'm just choosing the right side. There's nothing magical about that, but I just am. Okay. Okay, and I'll do the same thing with the yellow. Okay, so since we have 3 colors to go, then basically if we start with the color of this on the top, the next 2 are going to be replaced by another color, right? And then we'll have the same color again in the next 2. So basically with each color, the top, middle, and bottom will stay the same color for one of the eggs. So what I think the easiest thing to do, since this is the exact same size as this, so that we get good placement, is I flip it over and I figure out I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So it's 1, 4, and 7 that need the adhesive. Same thing on this one. Okay, 1, 4, and 7. You don't have to do this, I'm just doing this for the video. 1, 4, and 7. Okay, so those are the ones that need the adhesive for each egg. So I'm just going to keep my glue to 1, 4, and 7. All right, then when I glue this on, I can use those other stripes to get, I mean, I'm going to get absolutely perfect placement of all my stripes. Okay, but only 1, 4, and 7 are going to actually glue down. Look, I can take out, you can do this with scissors, you can almost just rip them out. I can take out the ones in the middle here, and I can take these out because they don't have any adhesive on them. I want them, I'm still going to use them on the other eggs, but you know, I usually just, I mean, honestly, I just usually just tear them out because they're so close to the edge. You can just tear them out. Okay, so now I've got my yellow stripes for the other eggs, but I've placed 1, 4, and 7 perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to do that again with my pink egg. 1, 4, and 7. I mean, you could just tear them all into individual stripes and line them up by hand. That works too, but this is just kind of a trick that seems to work pretty well for me, which is to only snip one side, then only ink the ones, only add glue to 1, 4, and 7, and then I can pull 2 and 3 and 5 and 6, since they have no glue on them, and basically just pull them out. Okay, and same thing with green. 1, 4, and 7. using all of them to line up. Okay. Ooh, 2 and 3. Nice. That one was clinging. I was like, I'm not coming out of there. I refuse. Did I not clip these? I feel like I did, but this one, maybe I missed one. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we have our egg starters now in our 3 colors. Okay, so then now we have to alternate colors, but you have to do it, you know, like you have to go one over. So let's say like we have, here's our skinnier ones. Let me see if I can make this make sense. Okay, I'm going to put these, the wider ones are the bottom stripes, and then the, you know, whatever. Okay, so we have to take, if we're going to take this top one, our 2 stripe from green, and we're going to move it over here to pink. So we're going to move to the left. Then we have to be consistent. Then we have to move the pink 2 stripe to the left over to yellow, so that it always ends up with the, you know, with the stripes alternating. Because otherwise it's real easy to get 2 eggs that are basically opposite of each other, but they're not. So now I'm going to take my 2 stripe for yellow, and I'm going to move it over to green. Okay, then I have to go 2 locations, right? So I did 1 for the 2 stripes, and now I got to go 2 over for my 3 stripe. So the green has to skip over pink and go over here to yellow. Okay, it's easy to see because it's the other color, right? So this one's going to get the yellow stripe, and this one's going to get the pink stripe. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing down here. So we're going to go 1 stripe over for the 5 stripe. Okay, so 5 stripe green. So moving over here to pink. Okay, 5 stripe pink. Moving over here to yellow. And 5 stripe yellow. Moving over here to green. Okay, and then just fill in with the remaining color. So you can tell that this one has to be green because it's between pink and yellow. This one has to be yellow because it's between green and pink. This one has to be pink because it's between yellow and green. So basically that's just a way. Now, if you needed more striped eggs, you could even do 7 different colors, right? And then you'd get 7 eggs with a single stripe of each color. But I find the 3 colors gives me 3 multicolored striped eggs pretty easily. There is a stencil feature on that egg overlay die, but you have to have a really tight pen nib to do it. And I find that it's just as easy to add a little detailing with a pen on your own. So I'm just using a white gel pen. If you like this look, you can watch mine. And just in the green stripes, I'm going to, this one's not going very well. That's the thing about white gel pens, is sometimes they behave and sometimes they don't. Sometimes you can get them going again by going against your skin. I don't know why. But this one is being a little troublesome here. Let me just swap out. I have another one. This is okay. So just a white gel pen, maybe making some stitch lines or maybe some dots. And I'm only doing highlighting in the green stripes. Okay. Something like this. And like I said, you could do stitch. Or you could do dots, or maybe you could do zigzag. Let's see what zigzag looks like. It's kind of cool. So basically we're just like decorating Easter eggs now. Okay, and what if we did dash, dot, dash, dot, dash, dot, dash. That looks kind of cool. I'm going to do some dots along here. So I left pink and yellow alone and just did the white detailing on the green stripes. All right, so now we're ready to start adding the rest of the things to our shape collage. So getting my collage back out here again. Out here on the right, I put one of my striped eggs attached to the first egg, so it's not even touching the arm, it's just attached to the back of that egg, just going out at a pleasing angle, and it is so far away from the center, it's probably going to be fine. I don't foresee any catch points, but let's see how we do. So I'm going to put the adhesive on the front of the egg in that lower right corner, and then I'm going to just attach it to my first egg, just coming out at a pleasing angle, and then check it before my glue dries. Looking good. And then I have one of my, I'm going to soften that center a little bit with the white gel pen. I got a little dark with my pink on that one. Just going to add some white over the top, I think. You can always do that if you were a little heavy with the color and you want to soften it a little bit. Or you can use a white pencil. You can tell that I used a white pencil on this one, white colored pencil over the top. Okay, so that's just going to go in this little kind of seam between the eggs. Really great idea to add your glue to your collage and attach your item to it versus adding it to the back of the piece, because there's going to be some of it that doesn't touch the collage, and then you don't want that stray adhesive because it'll stick everything together in the closed position. So, all right, I've got my right arm done. Now I'm going to move over here to the left one. For this one, I'm going to start with an egg again, but this time I'm going to do the striped egg. And again, I'm going to go out to the end of the arm, and I'm going to go pretty far up on the arm. So, adhesive here. This is, you gotta be willing to move this one. You might have to move this one. We're gonna just try and see what happens. I'm gonna go far out on the arm, pretty far up, something like that, and then I'm gonna see. Oh, plenty of room. Plenty of room. It's just as happy as can be. If it were too far in, it might try to get kind of jammed up in this area, but it is just luxuriously out there on the end. We have a plaid. That's not the right one. That's the one we did as the thing. We've got one that's plaid that we die cut. Going to maybe hit that one with a little ink, some brown ink, and then that is going to attach to this egg coming out over here. So again, if we go out further, that's usually fine. I'm going to do it something like this. See, it doesn't matter that it's sticking out of the card. That's actually kind of cool that it comes out beyond the card, because see how it comes in when the card closes? So that's pretty nifty that it does that. Okay, we have, I know I'm going a little fast, I apologize, but I know we have a time constraint here, and I know that you all can watch it again. So yellow jelly bean and orange jelly bean. So my first run at the handouts, I missed a couple pieces, like some rainbow stripes and I think the yellow jelly bean. And so then I think some of the kits that we sold, Tanya had printed the handouts, the first run of handouts, and they went out with those printouts. So those of you who got those printouts, just make sure you check your email. You should have gotten a newer one that has the pieces that I accidentally forgot put on there. Okay, there we go. Two little jelly beans in line. And then I'm going to do a white flower, the yellow center. I think I'll take a white pencil and soften that a bit. My yellow's a little bright. My pastel card. And I'm going to do that kind of at the seam between these two eggs over here. And I check it. And I've got no catch points. Everything's working wonderfully. Okay, so we did a fun thing where we cut an egg charm out of the pattern paper overlapping a basket so that it would actually be a little egg Easter basket. And if it's not perfect, the brown ink will solve a lot of that problem for you if you just ink your edges if you've got a little white showing. And then we're going to do that and a bunny. I did yellow bow bunny. Over here. Now the idea, since this has to slide down into the fold, is to keep that bunny pretty close to the right edge of this with all of the excess sticking out the left, because it's going to slide down into the fold right there. So let's see what I did with Yellow Bunny. The other thing we have to watch is that this one is going to come down this location. So see, let's show you how much room you have. The bunny can't stick higher than the arm, more than about his ears, or it'll stick out of the card in the closed position. Okay, so that means we got to use most of the arm for the bunny to keep him in the card. So adhesive along that arm. I'm going to keep his right side real close to that arm. So see, I just kind of, see if I can see in the back there. See that arm just going up the back of that bunny, and then I got to check him and see if he stays in the card. I mean, barely, but I did it. His ears are in, but it was close. So if they hadn't stayed in, I'd probably have to tilt him a little bit this way or try to shove him down a little further. I had a little bit more room there that he could have gone down a little further. Okay, then I'm going to do that basket, that egg basket, and I'm going to attach it to the back end of my bunny. So adhesive on his tail. Going to the left on this upper arm is no problem, because see, it's gonna slide down and it's gonna be in the card there. See, it's only this side that has to come close to the fold. So that's fine. Almost there. Then for our bottom arm, we're going to do egg like this. We gotta try and keep it in the card. Let's see how much room we have. You know what? We have a fair bit of room to the left of that arm, so I think we'd be fine kind of centering that egg kind of over the arm, since that's a slider instead of a flipper. Let's see what happens. Yep, it's staying in just fine. So that's what I'm saying. You have to be willing to move things. You know, if you placed it too far to the left and across the fold, it would get all jammed up in there, so you just have to move it over a little bit. And then this bunny, we got to keep it in the card so it can't go too far down past the arm, or else it will stay in. So I'm looking at my original, and it looks to me like I brought my ears up real close to center bunny to keep him in. So let's see what happens if I throw a little glue along the edge of this egg, throw it on, and then I just check it real sick, and ooh, I'm so close, look, I'm so close. He needs to come up just a little bit, just a smidge. So I'm going to pick him up. That's why using glue is the best, so you can move him. Okay, now let's look. Yep, and he's in. Okay, so there you go. One finished Easter collage card. Isn't that fun? It's really fun to just open and close and open and close. Okay, real quick, I wanted to show an alternative for this Easter card if you don't do Easter. So I know of at least one student that bought a kit for this class, but actually she's Jewish, she doesn't do Easter, and so she was asking what would be a good substitute for the Easter charms, and I suggested the backyard charms. And so she got these charms instead of the Easter charms. And I wanted to show her and anybody else that maybe wanted to make this card again out of their leftover materials. There is a journaling card that doesn't say Easter, it just has these pretty flowers. So for this version, I put that instead of this. But then I just kind of made a stripe, you know, using the Miri Sparkle and one of the other journaling cards, and then still used the same rainbow on the front. But then instead of a chocolate bunny, I went with the little fairy, using that packing tape trick, you know, to make it shiny, and then adding some gold glitter wings. So same colors, same colors. And then inside I used just the same exact design and colors and everything from our kit, but just chose different ones and stuff to make this. I used the same plaid background. I even used the same cottontail bunny strips, but I just flipped them over to the plaid side up here. Now, because the Happy Easter comes with the Easter charms, I did need a different greeting, and so I did pull out our Happy Spring die set for the greeting, and then just did it the same as the Happy Easter in the yellow and the purple, and then just offset it a little bit. And then here on the collage, I chose one of the pretty pattern papers for my center square, and then just used the little flower that's out of the fancy accordion, but then the bigger flowers that are in the backyard charms, the fairy, the mushroom, the butterfly, the snail, the little piece of grass, those all come in the backyard charms, which makes such a great spring card. And so then instead of a bow, since that came out of the Easter charms, I just used one of the flowers from the fancy label accordion and used the packing tape trick that Anne taught us. So anyway, so it's basically the exact same card from the exact same kit, except for instead of Easter charms, I used backyard charms and Hello Spring. So that is maybe, and that maybe you're going to tackle that one for your next one using your leftover materials, because you have all the materials to do that. You would just have to pick up those backyard charms and whatever greeting you wanted to use, in our case, Hello Spring. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed our class today. I sure did. We had a great time, and I'll see you at our next Spotlight, hopefully in June. Bye. A huge thanks also to Stamp and Scrapbook Expo for facilitating and hosting this Spotlight event.